I'm leaving him the second that money hits my account. Those words made my whole body go stiff. I was holding a box of bobby pins, standing right outside the makeup room. Nobody knew I was there. I came to drop off the emergency kit because Maya had called saying she needed safety pins. But her words floated out through the half-open door like smoke. Thomas doesn't suspect a thing, she laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made my stomach hurt. He's so trusting, Maya continued. I could hear rustling like she was moving around the room. Another voice responded, but it was quiet and scratchy, coming from her phone. I pressed myself against the wall. My fingers gripped the box so hard the cardboard bent. I already contacted the lawyer in Phoenix. Same one I used before. Works like a charm every time. Every time. My mouth went dry. I turned around slowly, my shoes making no sound on the carpet. I walked past the flower girl's basket sitting on a chair. Past the guest book nobody had signed yet. I kept moving until I reached the parking lot. The morning air felt cold even though the sun was shining. I pulled out my phone and called my friend Detective Sarah Chen. She answered on the second ring. Sarah, I need your help. Can you look into someone for me? Yes. My voice shook just a little. Her name is Maya Lin. I didn't run back inside screaming. I didn't grab Thomas and shake him awake from whatever spell he was under. Instead, I walked to my car and sat in the driver's seat with the door closed. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I had raised Thomas by myself after his father passed away when he was only 3 years old. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to make sure he had everything he needed. I remembered nights when I ate cereal for dinner so he could have real food. I remembered holding him when he cried about not having a dad like the other kids. And now, some woman was planning to trick him and steal what his grandfather had left for him. Whoa. Not on my watch. I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was done. My dress was pressed. I looked like someone going to a wedding. But inside I felt like a soldier going to war. I started the car and drove to the bank. Mr. Peterson, our family lawyer, had an office right next door. I needed to make some changes and I needed to make them fast. Mr. Peterson looked surprised when I walked in. Catherine, isn't the wedding in a few hours? He asked, standing up from his desk. That's exactly why I'm here, I said, sitting down without waiting for him to offer. I told him everything I heard. His face changed from confused to serious very quickly. He pulled out a folder, the one with Thomas's trust fund papers inside. The money transfers next week, right after they return from the honeymoon, he said, flipping through pages. Can we stop it? Yes. He thought for a moment. We can freeze it. Make it so nobody can touch it until we do a full review. It's your right as the trustee. Do it, I said. Do it right now. He picked up his phone and made 3 calls. I sat there, watching him work, feeling my heartbeat slow down for the first time since I heard Maya's voice. When he hung up, he looked at me. It's done. The account is locked. She can't touch a penny. He nodded. Thank you. Then I stood up and walked back to my car. One problem solved. But I still had a wedding to attend. Thomas was in the groom's room when I found him. He was adjusting his tie, looking at himself in the mirror with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. Mom, he said when he saw me. Do I look okay? Is the tie straight? I walked over and fixed it even though it was already perfect. That's what mothers do. You look so handsome, I told him, and I meant it. He looked just like his father did in our wedding photos. I can't believe I'm getting married, Thomas said, his voice full of excitement. Maya is amazing, Mom. I'm so lucky. Lucky. That word felt like a knife. But I didn't let my face show anything. I just smiled and patted his shoulder. The ceremony starts in an hour. Are you nervous? Yes. Not even a little bit, he said. I've never been more sure about anything in my life. Those words hurt more than Maya's confession. 'Cause he believed them. He really, truly believed he was marrying someone who loved him. I excused myself and went to the bathroom down the hall. I locked the door and leaned against the sink. My reflection looked back at me, calm on the outside but screaming on the inside. I wanted to protect him. I wanted to grab him and drive away and never come back. But I knew that wouldn't work. He would hate me. He would think I was trying to ruin his happiness. No, I needed proof. Real proof that he could see and hear with his own eyes and ears. I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah. "Did you find anything?" 3 dots appeared. Then her message came through. "Found 2 previous marriages. Both ended in less than a year. Both men reported missing money and jewelry. I'm sending the files now." My phone buzzed as the documents came through. Photos, court papers, police reports. Everything I needed. But I couldn't just show him these. He would say they were fake or that Maya had changed. Love makes people blind like that. I needed something stronger. Something that couldn't be explained away. I left the bathroom and walked back toward the makeup room. This time I didn't bring bobby pins or safety pins. I brought my phone with the recording app already open. The door was still half open. I could see Maya inside, talking on her phone again, pacing back and forth in her wedding dress. I pressed record and held the phone just outside the doorway. "Yeah, the old lady suspects nothing," Maya said. "Old lady. That's what she called me. Thomas is completely wrapped around my finger. After the honeymoon, I'll set up the separate account like we planned. Then we wait 6 months, file the papers, and split everything 50-50. The person on the other end said something. Maya laughed. "Baby, don't worry. This is easier than the Dallas job. That guy at least had a brain. Thomas just has a big heart and even bigger bank account." I stopped recording. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Felt calm, cold, focused. I walked away, saved the recording in 3 different places, and sent a copy to Sarah. "Evidence secured," I texted her. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea that went cold while I wasn't paying attention. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I kept thinking about Thomas as a little boy. How he used to bring me flowers he picked from the neighbor's garden. How he would save his allowance to buy me birthday presents. How he once told me I was his favorite person in the whole world. He was a good son. Good man. And someone was about to take advantage of that. I opened my laptop and looked at the pictures Sarah had sent. Maya's real name was actually Melissa Grant. She had used different names in different cities. Maya Lynn in our town. Michelle Garcia in Dallas. Mara Lopez in Phoenix. Same face. Smile. Different victims. In one photo, she was standing next to a man in a suit. He looked happy. The caption said he had lost his business and his home after their divorce. In another photo, she was wearing a different wedding dress with a different man. He looked happy too. I printed everything out and put it in a folder. But I still wasn't sure how to use it. If I showed Thomas before the wedding, he might cancel it out of anger, but then forgive her later. She would cry. She would apologize. She would say she changed. And he might believe her. No, I needed to wait for the right moment. The moment when everyone could see who she really was. Not just Thomas. Not just me. Everyone. I finally went to bed around 4 in the morning. I set my alarm for 6. Tomorrow was the wedding day. Tomorrow was the day everything would change. I closed my eyes and pictured Thomas's face. Not the happy face from earlier, but the face he would make when he learned the truth. It would hurt him. It would break his heart. But broken hearts heal. Stolen money and wasted years don't come back as easily. The morning came fast. I got dressed in my blue dress, the one Thomas had helped me pick out. He said it made me look elegant. I put on my pearl necklace, the one his father gave me on our 10th anniversary. Then I picked up the folder from my desk and slid it into my purse. The wedding venue was beautiful. White flowers everywhere. Candles in glass jars. Ribbons hanging from the trees. Maya had expensive taste, I'd give her that. Of course, Thomas was paying for all of it. I saw the wedding planner rushing around with a clipboard. I saw the photographer testing his camera. I saw guests starting to arrive, dressed in their fancy clothes. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was excited. Nobody knew what I knew. I walked inside and found the sound technician. His name was David and he looked very young. "Excuse me," I said sweetly. "I need to ask you a special favor." David looked nervous. "What kind of favor?" he asked. I pulled out an envelope. Inside was $500 in cash. "I need you to play an audio file during the ceremony. Right after the officiant asks if anyone objects." His eyes got wide. "Ma'am, I don't think I can do that. I could get fired." I added another $200 to the pile. "This is very important. It's about protecting my son. Please." He looked at the money, then at me, then at the money again. Finally he nodded. "What do I need to do?" I pulled out my phone and sent him the recording. When I raise my hand like this, I demonstrated. "You play it through the speakers. Full volume. Can you do that?" He downloaded the file and tested it with his headphones. His face changed as he listened. "Is this real?" he asked quietly. "Very real," I said. "Will you help me?" He put the money in his pocket and nodded. "I'll do it. For your son." Guests filled the seats. Thomas stood at the altar looking handsome and nervous. His best friend Jake stood next to him as the best man. The music started. Everyone turned to watch. And there she was. Maya, walking down the aisle in a white dress that probably cost more than my car. She looked beautiful. She looked perfect. She looked like a bride in a magazine. Thomas's face lit up when he saw her. Pure joy. Pure love. My heart broke a little bit watching him. The officiant began speaking. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the love between Thomas and Maya." I sat in the front row, my hand resting on my lap. Maya reached the altar. She took Thomas's hands. They stared at each other like they were the only two people in the world. The officiant continued. "Marriage is a sacred bond. It is built on trust, honesty, and commitment." Trust, honesty. Those words felt heavy. If anyone here knows any reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. The room went silent. This was the moment. I raised my hand slowly. David saw me. I heard a click through the speakers. Then Maya's voice filled the entire room. "Yeah, the old lady suspects nothing. Thomas is completely wrapped around my finger." Whispers. People started looking around, confused. The recording continued. "After the honeymoon, I'll set up the separate account like we planned. Then we wait 6 months, file the papers, and split everything 50-50. Thomas dropped Maya's hands. His face went white. Maya spun around, her eyes searching the crowd. "This is easier than the Dallas job. That guy at least had a brain. Thomas just has a big heart and even bigger bank account." The recording ended. Silence. Complete silence. Thomas stared at Maya. "What was that?" he asked quietly. "Thomas, I can explain," Maya started, but her voice was shaking. That wasn't. "That was your voice," Thomas said. His voice was flat. "Mbi. Who were you talking to?" Maya's face turned red. "It was taken out of context. Someone edited it." I stood up. Everyone looked at me. "No one edited anything," I said calmly. Pulled out my phone. "I recorded it yesterday. Right outside the makeup room. Would you like to hear the full version?" Maya's eyes went wide. "You did this," she hissed at me. "You ruined everything." "No," I said. "You ruined everything when you decided to lie to my son." Thomas took a step back from the altar. "Maya, tell me the truth. Right now. Was that recording real?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. No words came out. Jake, the best man, moved closer to Thomas. "Dude, let's go," he said quietly. Thomas pulled off his boutonniere and dropped it on the ground. Then he walked down the aisle, past all the guests, past me and out the door. Jake followed him. Maya stood frozen at the altar. Her perfect makeup started running as tears fell down her face. But they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears. "You witch," she screamed at me. "You jealous, bitter old witch. You couldn't stand seeing your son happy." The officiant stepped back, clearly uncomfortable. Security guards appeared from the side doors. The wedding planner must have called them. "Ma'am, you need to leave," one guard said to Maya. "This is my wedding," she shouted. "You can't throw me out of my own wedding." "Actually," the venue manager said, stepping forward, "the contract is in Thomas's name, and he just left. So the wedding is over." Maya looked around at all the guests staring at her. Some were recording on their phones. Some were whispering to each other. No one was on her side. She gathered up her dress and ran. Her heels clicked on the floor as she rushed toward the exit. I watched her go, feeling nothing but relief. The guests started standing up, talking among themselves, some looking shocked, others looking like they wanted to know more of the story. I collected my purse and walked outside. Thomas was sitting on a bench in the garden, his head in his hands. Jake stood nearby, giving him space but staying close. I sat down next to my son. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Thomas said, "How did you know?" "I heard her yesterday," I said softly. "And I did some research. Her real name is Melissa Grant. She's done this before. To other men. In other cities." Thomas lifted his head. His eyes were red. "I almost married her. I know. I almost gave her everything. I know." He looked at me. "Why didn't you tell me before? Would you have believed me?" Asked gently. He thought about it, then shook his head. "No. I would have thought you were being overprotective, or jealous, or trying to control my life. That's why I needed you to hear it yourself," I said. "I needed you to see who she really was, not who she pretended to be." Thomas leaned back against the bench. "I feel so stupid." "You're not stupid. You were in love. Or you thought you were." "Was any of it real?" he asked. "Did she ever actually care about me?" I took his hand. "I don't know. Maybe in the beginning. But people like her, they're good at pretending. It's what they do." We sat there together, mother and son, in the garden where he was supposed to get married. Guests filed out of the venue behind us, some stopping to offer quiet condolences, others leaving quickly to avoid the awkwardness. The photographer packed up his equipment. The caterers started clearing the untouched food. The flowers would wilt by tomorrow. But Thomas would be okay. Maybe not today. Maybe not next week. But eventually. That evening, after everyone had gone home, I got a phone call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello. You think you're so smart," Maya's voice said. She wasn't crying anymore. She sounded cold, calculated. "You have no idea who you're messing with." "Actually, I know exactly who I'm messing with," I replied calmly. "Melissa Grant, also known as Michelle Garcia and Mara Lopez. Married 3 times. Divorced 3 times. Currently wanted for questioning in Arizona for fraud." Silence on the other end. "That's right," I continued. "I know everything. And so do the police. Detective Sarah Chan has been very helpful." "You can't prove anything," Maya said, but her voice wasn't as confident anymore. "I have recordings. Have documents. I have testimony from your previous victims. And I have a very good lawyer." I heard her breathing on the other end of the line. "Stay away from my son," I said. "Stay away from my family. Or I will make sure you spend the next few years in a courtroom." She hung up. I blocked the number and went to check on Thomas. He was in his old bedroom, the one he grew up in, sitting on his bed still wearing his wedding suit. "I thought I knew her," he said when I came in. "We dated for a year. How did I miss all the signs?" I sat down next to him. Because she was careful. She knew what to say, how to act, when to be sweet and when to be supportive. "Was the baby even real?" he asked suddenly. My heart stopped. "What baby?" "She told me 2 weeks ago that she was pregnant. That's part of why we moved the wedding up." No. I pulled out my phone and texted Sarah. "Did Maya/Melissa have any children in her previous marriages?" The response came quickly. "No. And medical records show she can't have children. Had surgery years ago. I showed Thomas the message. He stared at it. Then he stood up and walked to the window. Everything was a lie, he said quietly. Everything. Not everything, I said. Your friends are real. Your job is real. Your family is real. She was the only lie. He turned to look at me. How did you stay so calm? How did you know exactly what to do? I smiled sadly. Because I'm your mother. It's my job to protect you. Even when you don't know you need protecting. He came over and hugged me. Really hugged me. The kind of hug I hadn't gotten since he was a little boy. Thank you, Mom, he whispered. I'm sorry I didn't listen when you said something felt off about her. You don't have to apologize, I said. Love makes us blind sometimes. That's not your fault. We stayed like that for a while. Then I made him change into comfortable clothes and heated up some leftover soup. We ate in the kitchen, not saying much, just being together. Later that night, I heard him crying in his room. Broke my heart. But I knew he needed to let it out. Tomorrow would be better. And the day after that would be even better. The next morning, Thomas came downstairs looking tired but more like himself. I called the venue, he said. They're refunding most of the money since we didn't use any of their services. That's good, I said, pouring him coffee. And I called the travel agency. The honeymoon tickets can be changed to different names. Different dates. He sat down at the table. I was thinking, maybe you and I could use them. Take a trip together. Like we used to when I was a kid. My eyes filled with tears. I would love that. He smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. We could go to the beach. Or the mountains. Anywhere that's not here. Anywhere, I agreed. My phone buzzed. 'Twas Sarah. Melissa Grant left the state last night. Caught her on a red-eye to Mexico. I've alerted the authorities. She won't get far. I showed Thomas the message. He read it and nodded. Good. I hope I never see her again. You won't, I promised. Over the next few days, we started the process of untangling everything. Thomas canceled the joint bank account Maya had convinced him to open. He changed all his passwords. He went through his apartment and packed up everything she'd left there. Helped him. We filled 4 boxes with her clothes, her makeup, her books, her decorations. Everything that proved she'd been part of his life. What should I do with all this? He asked, looking at the boxes. Donate it, I said. Let someone else get use out of it. She doesn't deserve to have it back. He nodded and called a charity to come pick everything up. When the truck drove away, Thomas looked lighter somehow. Like he'd been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. We ordered pizza and watched old movies. His favorites from when he was young. We laughed at the parts we'd seen 100 times. We quoted the lines we knew by heart. For a few hours it felt normal again. The story spread, of course. Small towns are like that. Everyone had an opinion. Some people said I was brave. Others whispered that I was controlling and couldn't let my son grow up. I didn't care what they said. I knew the truth. One afternoon, I was at the grocery store when I ran into Mrs. Patterson from down the street. Catherine, she said, touching my arm. I heard what happened at the wedding. That must have been so difficult. It was necessary, I replied simply. Well, I think you did the right thing, she said. I have a daughter. If someone was trying to take advantage of her like that, I'd want to know. I'd want to stop it. Thank you, I said. She squeezed my hand and walked away. That small moment of support meant more than she probably knew. Not everyone would understand. But the people who mattered did. 2 weeks after the almost wedding, Thomas went back to work. He was an engineer at a company downtown. His co-workers had all been invited to the wedding. He told me he was nervous about facing them. Just hold your head high, I advised. You didn't do anything wrong. He came home that evening looking exhausted but okay. How was it? He asked. Awkward at first, he admitted. But then Jake told everyone the full story. About Maya being a con artist. About the recording. About everything. And people were actually really supportive. Good, I said. That's good. My boss even pulled me aside and said if I needed any time off, he'd approve it. No questions asked. Thomas sat down on the couch. I think I'm going to be okay, Mom. I know you are, I said. And I meant it. He was strong. Stronger than he thought. This would hurt for a while. But it wouldn't break him. A month passed. Then 2. Thomas started going out with friends again. He joined a hiking group. He adopted a dog from the shelter. A goofy golden retriever he named Biscuit. Life moved forward. The trust fund stayed frozen just to be safe. Mr. Peterson said we should wait at least a year before releasing any of it. Thomas agreed. I'm in no rush, he said. I have my job. I have my apartment. I don't need that money right now. I was proud of him for saying that. He'd learned something valuable from this experience. Money doesn't buy happiness. And the wrong person will only see you as a dollar sign. One Saturday, Thomas came over for our weekly dinner. He brought Biscuit, who immediately tried to steal food off the counter. Mom, Thomas said while we were cooking. I've been thinking. About dating. About relationships. What about them? Asked, stirring the pasta. I don't think I'm ready yet. Maybe not for a long time. That's okay, I said. There's no rush. You're only 32. You have plenty of time. Did you ever date again? After Dad died? Pause. It wasn't something we talked about much. A few times, I admitted. But nothing serious. I was focused on raising you. That was more important. Do you ever regret it? Not finding someone else? Thought about it. No. Had you? That was enough. Thomas hugged me from behind while I was at the stove. I'm lucky to have you as my mom. I'm lucky to have you as my son, I replied. We finished making dinner together. Biscuit got some scraps. We watched a game on TV and argued about which team was better. It was normal. Comfortable. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Not dramatic. Not complicated. Just easy. Summer turned to fall. The leaves changed colors. The air got colder. Thomas seemed more like himself every day. We took that trip we talked about. Used the honeymoon tickets to go to Colorado. We hiked in the mountains. Saw wildlife. Ate at small restaurants in tiny towns. This is better than any honeymoon, Thomas said one evening as we watched the sunset from our hotel balcony. Way better, I agreed. We didn't talk about Maya much. There was no point. She was gone. Out of our lives. Just a bad memory that would fade with time. When we got back home, there was a letter waiting for Thomas. It was from a law firm in Texas. One of Maya's previous victims had found out about what happened and wanted to thank Thomas for coming forward. Because you exposed her, we're reopening our cases, the letter said. She won't be able to do this to anyone else. Thomas showed me the letter. At least something good came from this mess, he said. By winter, Thomas was doing really well. He got a promotion at work. He started volunteering at a youth center, teaching kids about science and engineering. He seemed happy. Really happy. One evening he came over and said, Mom, I need to tell you something. My heart jumped. What is it? I met someone. Her name is Rachel. She works at the animal shelter where I got Biscuit. We've been talking for a few weeks. I waited, letting him continue. I know it hasn't been that long since. Everything. But she's different. She's kind. She's honest. She has her own career. Her own money. Her own life. How do you feel about her? Yes. He smiled. Good. But also scared. What if I'm wrong again? What if I miss the signs again? I took his hand. Do you want to bring her to dinner? Let me meet her. He looked relieved. Would you? I value your opinion. More than anyone's. Rachel came to dinner the following Saturday. She was nothing like Maya. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. No fancy jewelry. No designer purse. She brought a homemade pie and apologized that it might not be very good because baking wasn't her strength. I liked her immediately. During dinner, she talked about her work at the shelter, about the animals she'd helped rescue, about her family, her 3 brothers, her parents who were still married after 40 years. She asked about me too, about my nursing career, about how I raised Thomas alone. She listened when I answered, really listened. After dinner, Thomas took Biscuit outside. Rachel helped me with the dishes. "Mrs. Patterson," she said quietly. "Thomas told me what happened with his ex-fiancée." I stopped washing and looked at her. "He did." She nodded. "I want you to know that I understand if you're protective, if you're worried. You have every reason to be." "I appreciate that," I said carefully. "I also want you to know that I'm not after anything except getting to know him better. I have my own apartment, my own car, pay my own bills. I don't need his money. I just like spending time with him." She met my eyes when she said it. No looking away, no nervous laughing, just honest words. "He's been through a lot," I said. "I know. And I'm not going to rush him, or push him. We're just dating, just seeing where it goes. If it goes anywhere at all." I handed her a dish to dry. "Do you like him?" "I do," she said simply. "He's kind. He's funny. He cares about people. And he loves his mom, which says a lot about a person." Smiled. "He does, doesn't he?" When Thomas came back inside, he looked at both of us nervously. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," Rachel said. And she was right. Months passed. Thomas and Rachel kept dating. No rush, no pressure. Just 2 people getting to know each other. He brought her to family dinners. She brought him to meet her parents. They went hiking with Biscuit. They volunteered together at the shelter. It was healthy. It was normal. One day, Thomas asked me, "Do you like her?" "Rachel." "I do," I said honestly. "She's good for you." "She's nothing like Maya," he said. "That's exactly why she's good for you," I replied. He laughed. "You know what's funny? I almost didn't ask her out. I was too scared. Too worried I'd make another mistake. But you did it anyway." "Yeah. 'Cause I realized something. I can't let one bad experience ruin my whole life. Maya was a liar. But that doesn't mean everyone is." I hugged him. "I'm proud of you. For being brave enough to try again." "I learned from the best," he said. Spring came again. A full year after the almost wedding. Thomas and Rachel were still together, still taking things slow. The trust fund was finally unfrozen. Thomas decided to use some of it to start a scholarship fund for kids who wanted to study engineering but couldn't afford college. "It's what Grandpa would have wanted," he said. "Better than letting it sit in a bank. Or worse, letting someone like Maya steal it." The first scholarship was awarded to a young girl from a single-parent home. Her mother cried when she got the news. Thomas cried too. I sat in the back of the auditorium, watching my son help change someone's life. This was who he was. Kind, generous. But Maya had tried to take advantage of that. But she'd failed. Because he had people who loved him. People who protected him. People who saw through the lies. I never heard from Maya again. Sarah told me she was caught trying to pull the same scheme in South America. Got arrested. Extradited back to face charges in Arizona. I didn't follow the case closely. I didn't need to. She was no longer our problem. Thomas didn't ask about her either. He'd moved on. Really moved on. One afternoon Rachel and Thomas came over. They were holding hands and smiling. "We have news," Thomas said. My heart jumped. Rachel held up her left hand. Simple ring. "We're engaged," she said. "But we're waiting at least a year before we actually get married. No rush." Thomas looked at me. "We wanted to tell you first. Before anyone else." I hugged them both. "I'm so happy for you." And I was. This time it felt right. The wedding, when it finally happened, was small. Just family and close friends. No fancy venue. No expensive flowers. Just honest people celebrating honest love. Thomas and Rachel wrote their own vows. He promised to be patient. She promised to be kind. They both promised to communicate and trust each other. I sat in the front row, watching my son marry someone who truly loved him. Someone who saw him for who he was, not what he had. When they kissed, everyone cheered. Biscuit, who was the ring bearer, barked happily. At the reception, Thomas pulled me aside. "Thank you, Mom," he said. "For everything. For protecting me. For believing in me. For teaching me what real love looks like." "You don't have to thank me," I said. "I'm your mother. It's what I do." "No," he insisted. "Not every mother would have handled it the way you did. You didn't just tell me I was wrong. You showed me. You gave me proof."